the Ukrainian drone strikes. Operations have now resumed at all 3 ports, with most berths back in service. The recovery comes as global energy markets look for alternative supplies to replace shipments from the Persian Gulf. More ahead. This is Bloomberg.
Next week on Leaders with me, Francine Lacroix. I speak to Emma Greed of Good American and Skims about making $1 million in one day.
Behind the scenes, I was scrambling.
Working from home.
Career suicide.
What up, y'all? It's the KRISTOPHER. This is the Christopher Whitney podcast. This is Christopher Whitney, principal, advisor, Whitney Financial Strategies. Now, I'm sure you heard all the doom and gloom on the mainstream squawk media, but just take a look at the futures. Blah, blah. Everything is green. Green. That's right. Buy the dip. Don't trip. Buy the dip.
Over 10 minutes, the tech-heavy Kospi index rose to a record on Tuesday, alongside Asian IT stocks and chip makers, as investors look beyond the Iran war to refocus on the AI sector. For more, let's bring in our Asia equities reporter Sang-Mi Chan. Sang-Mi, I remember when this government wanted Kospi 5,000. Could we be headed to Kospi 7,000 at this point?
Yeah, Sherry, it's constantly looking like just 2 months ago as if the war never started. Kospi again hitting that all-time high, and we see the same actually trend in Taiwan index, for instance. So it looks like it's a full risk-on sentiment here, and investors are just looking
a trader,
at the pre-war themes, which is artificial intelligence, and of course the chip makers in Asia. So you can see that actually for Kospi, Goldman Sachs and JP Morgan have been racing to upgrade targets. Yes, we're really talking about a bull case of 8,500 here. But again, when you look at the earnings estimate, we're looking at Kospi at 180%. That is a staggering upgrade that we have seen. We've started off from 40% or something earlier this year. So we see that very fast-paced upgrade in the earnings. So this means the companies are actually delivering, and the investors are coming back and trying to believe in this theme. Again, Kospi is up 50% year to date, and it is on track to actually overtake UK in its market cap as well.
There's a lot of debate over memory stock valuations at the moment that catch up with some of the other big
Just take a look here.
chip names as well.
The market
there are even whispers of whether this is the start of a super cycle.
And then boom,
yes,
that right there, we're on a yearly chart.
Super cycle, and this
on the
could
S&P
be
500.
actually
That's
at
a
the
short
end
squeeze.
of the boom and bust cycle that
Everyone
we have seen
was
historically.
on one side of the boat.
A lot of the investors have been putting this discount on these memory names
like
Samsung,
doubled down
and SK Hynix.
on the bad news today. Now we're going to get another short squeeze.
Forward earnings, and that compared to TSMC's 20%, 20 times, or
in your face,
NVIDIA's
Democrats.
23 times. That is staggeringly low, and that's because a lot of the nature of these memory names were very lumpy, so they were very exposed to these economic cycles. But now the things are changing because of this insatiable AI demand.
Yes.
So and there is that huge change in how they make contracts with data centers and hyperscalers. For instance, it was always quarterly based, but now they're moving towards that yearly, longer term base, where they're actually planning this whole journey together with the AI processors. So all all of these things are making things more you can actually calculate further. So the prices for the DRAM, the high bandwidth memory, all of these things becoming less volatile. But again, there are some skeptics. They say that super cycle is ultimately still a cycle. So it might end, and there is that concentration risk because a lot of the investors are looking at just TSMC, SK Hynix, and Samsung, these handful of memory names, especially the chip maker names within Asia. But again, it's very optimistic here. When you look at Samsung, it is expected to have the 400% net income this year. We're talking about $151 billion. The same looks 300% for SK Hynix. That's $115 billion. So that actually dwarfs the 70% net income estimates for TSMC. So all of these things point back to that risk on, and again,
Taiwan
that super cycle, which
company.
is ongoing.
Biggest Asia Equities reporter there. Well, let's get you some of the latest headlines from the corporate front. And SpaceX says it has an agreement to either acquire AI coding startup Cursor or pay for its work as it moves to catch up with rivals in AI coding. And a post on X, the company says it will buy Cursor for $60 billion this year or pay $10 billion for a deal. SpaceX is planning an IPO this year after its merger with xAI, which CEO Elon Musk has said is behind on coding tools compared with its peers. Adobe has announced a $25 billion share buyback over the next 4 years as it grapples with a drop in market value on AI-led disruption. The company's CFO says it's a direct expression
Whenever a
of
company
confidence
announces
in cash
buybacks,
flows and long-term value for
you want
investors.
to jump on that before
Adobe
it gets
stock has
priced
fallen
in
almost 30% this year as investors worry about AI's potential to disrupt software companies' business models. SoftBank Group has tapped Arm Holdings CEO Rene Haas to lead its international operations, part of founder Masayoshi Son's push into AI chip making. Haas will lead the California-based SoftBank Group International, helping align the group's chip and AI businesses while remaining the CEO of Arm. Son has increasingly relied on the former NVIDIA executive to advance SoftBank's AI ambitions, Sherry.
Yesterday,
we have breaking news out of Japan. We are getting the latest trade numbers with exports for the month of March coming in at acceleration of 11.7% year on year. This is really getting higher, much higher than the previous month, but at the same time slightly above expectations. The trade surplus, though,
yesterday we're
coming
looking
in
at
below
Rio Tinto
expectations, 667 billion
because of the
yen,
new gold mine,
really
copper mine,
wider
and all the data
trade
centers.
surplus than the previous month, but
Hey, now with this data that came out on the Japanese yen,
perhaps
let's
not
see
surprising
how
given that we're getting imports growth of
currency trade's rolling.
10.9% year on year, which is higher than economists had expected. There are a few factors that you're contending with the persistent weakness of the Japanese yen that's raising import costs. And of course, for the month of March, and just since last year, we're still contending with the trade war fallout and the tariffs.
Japanese yen.
Japan
Why
has
the
been
Australian
implementing
dollar?
a trade deal with the United States.
Because Australia mines all their stuff,
the Japanese
ships
yen
it
at
to
the
China,
moment not doing
China
much.
manufactures
We are headed
it,
towards
and
the market
then
opens in less than
ships
10
it
minutes.
to the west.
You can get more on all of the
So
Bloomberg
together
stories
acts
on
as
the
a
video
perfect
hub
gauge,
as well. That's
in my opinion,
Bloomberg.com/videos.
pretty much consensus in the industry.
This is Bloomberg.
Perfect gauge of what we call risk on or risk off. We got 5 minutes left, and we call it a day. Yeah. By the way, folks, in the last two videos, I didn't realize this until I went and reviewed it before, because on my computer I don't hear it. But basically, there's just annoying echo, and so that problem should be solved. And now I got my headset on here, and that doesn't discredit the quality of the information I am providing, which is invaluable if you're someone of this interest. And I say that in a humble way. I know it probably didn't come across that way, but it really is. Anyway, back to the program here. And we're still in the commercial. So we got Shaquille O'Neal, somehow being interviewed on a financial program. Bloomberg. Go figure.
Watch, listen, stream.
Take a look at the setup for the market opens across Asia. We are seeing NASDAQ futures at the moment pointing higher by 0.5%.
U.S.-Iran truce extension. Okay, that's the news.
The overnight session.
That's why.
In the regular session, the equity sold off, but then afterwards we saw the extension of the ceasefire and futures rebounded. Still, in the S&P 500,
that's why everything's green
in
the futures aftermarket.
Downside pressure for the Asian session. Nikkei futures down 0.3%.
Buy the dip, don't trip.
Also slightly down, but remember,
if you're someone who likes hip-hop music, just Google Buy the Dip.
About a 50% gain just this year, Heidi. So we continue to watch, of course,
most people
the optimism
who watch
around
this
the
stuff
AI
don't listen to that kind of
across
music.
Asian markets as well.
Most advisors are
we're
not
just talking about that
my
possible
age.
super
Most of
cycle
them
for
have
those
a
memory
full
chip
set of
players
gray
as
hair
well.
or no
Take
hair
a
at
look,
all.
Jared, how we're
Lisa
setting
still
up
got some
so
of my
much of
left.
this recenters
Although
around
he's
what
getting a
happens
little
with the
high
oil
then,
price.
but, you
Of
know,
course, the blockade continues when it comes to
50
the
now,
Strait of
so what do you
Hormuz.
expect?
The falling apart of these last-minute negotiations
Anyway, it's not about
that were
me, it's
expected
about
between the US
the market,
and
so.
Iran. But on the other hand, we do have President Trump extending that truce until these negotiations can take place. But at this point, we're seeing Tehran unwilling to come to the table. New York traded crude. We're seeing further upside now of over 1%.
You know, Trump,
we're also seeing
they can't say Trump didn't give him a fair chance.
Had earlier fallen the most in about
he gave him more
2
chances
weeks. So
than
a
I
little
would
bit
have
more of a
given
steady
him.
picture. Still a 2-day decline for the precious metal, though, after the extension of
Trump,
that ceasefire. For gold, we've seen a
knows
loss
what
of
he's
more
doing.
than 10%
I mean,
since the start of the conflict.
his record speaks for himself.
We have seen some relatively narrow range trading over
Betting
the last
against
few
them
weeks
is
here. Spot gold also is looking just
it's not a good idea.
little bit high there.
If
as
history is
see
any
really
indication, suffice to say.
Sydney futures looking like we'll
And
see
you can
about
take
downside
that
less
to
than
the
a
bank.
seventh of 1% as we get into cash trading in the next 5 minutes or so. And with that, the market opens in Sydney, Seoul and Tokyo are next. This is Bloomberg.
This is Bloomberg. Oh, I love Sherry on. She keeps it real. And she's surrounded by all these haters too. They just like, but she holds the line. And that's, my friends, is integrity. It is a lost value, virtue. It's the last principality. It's like almost like Atlantis. You can't even find it anymore almost these days. It's almost gone extinct. Like common sense not being common anymore. And then during the pandemic, we had like the majority of the competent workers in the workforce across the board retired. They were like, the heck with this, I'm retiring while I can before the whole place goes up in smoke.
In case you missed it,
all right, guys.
Bloomberg Open Interest.
We got another 30 seconds, maybe a minute.
With those respective governments, with the U.S. and with Mexico. Are you optimistic that they're going to give you some sort of break
past
around
performance
tariffs?
Doesn't guarantee future results. Past doesn't equal the future.
Is intertwined with other issues.
Consult your financial advisor.
I think the governments are
Investing
aware
has
of the
risk.
situation, and I think affordability
Investing
is
in
very
foreign
important
markets
for the
has
US
additional
government.
risk.
Manufacturing footprint. How important is it to you to be manufacturing here? What are you
sure
doing
you have
with your
adequate
plants, for
reserves
example,
for
in Mexico?
emergencies
We're very
and blah blah
focused
blah.
on producing what we sell, and
just look at the disclosure on any financial marketing. There's going to be a bottom. You're going to have all that stuff we got to say as professionals. You know, of course, we got to say that.
The objective is really to reach an 80% mix of production in the
it gets
US.
a little bit ad nauseum sometimes.
Open Interest live every weekday.
Africa, a region rife with potential for growth and opportunities, but not without its challenges. Join us as we get to the heart of African business, politics, and economics, and ask the question, what's next? on this episode.
We are dealing with supply issues, and so therefore fertilizer, the planting season, food security is high up there, but so too is fuel.
I like Ethiopia because they have the
April
only
24th, only on Bloomberg.
Christian Bible that's survived 2,000 years. By the way, a lot of people don't know this, but Bruce discovered the Dead Sea Scrolls in 1947 while he's looking for his missing goat. He threw a rock into a cave and they mashed it up, called Hebrew text, with the Ethiopian Bible. And it turns out, this blew my mind, that the Christian church, Western Bible, has excluded like 90% of Jesus' teachings. And the main point there is that Jesus says that a relationship is between you and God. You don't need an intermediary like a priest.
We're counting down to Asia's major market opens
so
after that big
a whole
reversal that we saw in the overnight
could,
session.
I'm not
We
saying
had
it is,
equity selling off in the regular session, Heidi, but futures rebounding on that ceasefire announcement with Iran by President Trump.
Yeah, I'm a Christian.
We are potentially coming back to this point
look at
where
that. I got the cross right here.
with real two-way price action, right? Not just sort of relief to the upside when we see
just Google it, y'all. Do your own research.
Tensions, but
anyway,
now
back to this program.
Prospect of perhaps a more protracted
it is relevant though because they're parading cardinals who are giving misinformation.
Yeah, and we are seeing investors also
affects elections,
on the
affects the
AI
financial
trade,
markets.
which of course will have big implications for Asian markets. Lots to do with semiconductors, those memory makers as well. In the Japanese session, we had already seen 2 sessions of gains, and the Japanese yen weakened in the overnight session against the US.
We're done.
It's very close to that 160 threshold.
Meanwhile,
we have seen intervention
markets
coming
are green
from authorities. We are also
Don't
digesting
the hype,
some of the latest export numbers. We saw the reacceleration of the exports above 11% growth in the latest set of data, and we continue to watch, of course, the import prices also rising with the Japanese yen continuing to weaken. And of course, all of this sets up the policy decision by the Bank of Japan next week.
All
of those rate hike expectations or the lack of rate hike expectations perhaps also fitting into the JGB space. We saw it a little bit firmer, also supply dynamics playing a part
as you can
in
see
the
here, I got
in
Wall Street Journal
week's session, especially this
month.
I got
Wall Street Journal here, I got Bloomberg here.
Online. I was talking about the semiconductors,
Bloomberg's Democrat, Wall Street Journal's Republican, so I got a balanced presentation here.
So we continue to follow the upside for some of these names. A little bit of downside pressure for Samsung early in the session, but SK Hynix
that's the only way to do it.
Its gains
How are you gonna
by 0.5%. The
inbound
not doing
confidence
much, but remember, we're still
on your
at
viewers
highs.
if you're
in fact,
just
Goldman Sachs upgrading its price target for the Kospi to 8,000 for this year. The Korean won strengthening a little bit against the dollar.
It's called professionalism.
Sherry,
it's
take a look
competence.
at what we're watching when it comes
it's
to treasuries,
diligence.
because of course the other story
it's called
is
objectivity.
The testimony that we had
also
from Walsh in terms of potentially the next leadership that we see for the Fed. That was before the Senate Banking Committee.
This goes on the new session.
And lots of really tough questions being asked
it is
when
now
it comes
Wednesday.
to his potential independence, particularly from the likes
of
Senator Elizabeth Warren. But this is a picture that we see when it comes to
you on the flip side, my friends.
Trimming those losses, particularly in the context of course, this ongoing uncertainty with Iran and the US and what happens with the war and these negotiations going forward as well. We're seeing the move in oil. We're seeing that move in gold as well, despite being pretty much range-bound over the last couple of weeks or so. But let's take a listen to what we heard for potentially the next head of the Fed in terms of what he has spoken about